Hey, what's up, everybody? And welcome to tonight's live chat where we talk about everything about performance bikes, what makes a performance bike, what you need to do if you wanted to build a performance bikes, and what other add-ons is a good idea to build that performance bike so the bike could handle the performance that you just built. But with me is I have two performance people here with me. They both, in my opinion, have a performance bike. Let's bring them in. We'll bring in Tweedle and Hell's on Two Wheels. What's happening, guys? How you doing tonight?
What's going on?
All
How you
right.
doing?
That was a great show. See you guys later.
All right, take care, Hells. All right. So, performance bikes. In your own words, in your own opinion, Tweedle, what is a performance bike?
One that'll get up and go fast.
Get up and go fast. All right. In other words, he wrong?
No, there's a style to it. There's a number. Yeah, I feel like there's a number you have to achieve. I still feel like I'm a little shy on that number for myself, but 140 range and up's what I kind of consider it. But I am the HR department, so
Yep. So, Hells, what makes a performance bike?
It is a motorcycle. Specifically, we're talking Harley Davidson because that's what we're into. That is upgraded with safety, as in upgraded brakes and rotors, upgraded suspension to make it ride and handle so you can go and carve curves a lot better, and also upgraded engines. That way you can get out of the hole and you have great top speed.
Yep. So, with that, in my own words, in my opinion, what makes a performance bike is one, the bike that has been modified for better engine performance and better handling and better braking, because those things work together 100%. You can have one of the three or two of the three and still have a performance bike, but you are limiting the performance and also hindering you're adding to the unsafe condition of the motorcycle. Take Spaceballs, for instance. That does not have a suspension because the suspension I want is not available yet, but that will be done, and that would be a complete package. So going into that, my opinion, a start of a build on a performance bike would be your stage one, which would be an air cleaner, a full exhaust, and a tuner. What are you guys' opinion on that?
Should we should we stick to Harley stage one, or we want to start a performance stage one thing?
Well, we'll stick to the Harley stage one, because that's how most people will build their performance bikes.
But that limits you to just one part of the bike. Considering if it was a performance stage one, then you can talk about controls. You're talking about upgraded exhaust and air cleaner and a tune.
Right.
Right.
But most people go on a budget over time. They don't throw a whole bunch of stuff at it at once. Most people.
For me, a Harley stage one's a safety because you need to be allowed to be heard. So to me, that's more of a safety and not a performance.
Well, then you could just keep the stock air cleaner, stock tune, and throw slip-ons on, and now you got the sound, which is not really it's literally zero performance gains.
You're just changing the tone of your exhaust.
Exactly. Yeah. But when you do the head pipe with the mufflers, with a tuner, with an air cleaner, you're going to get nominal gains. You're going to get very little gains for that money, and you could spend anywhere from $1,500 to $2,500 on your stage one.
Most people do a stage one, though. It's just slip-on, so they keep the factory head pipes.
Yep, that they do. And I've never said, when I had just that, I never said the bike was stage one. It was a stock bike with slip-ons. Because the performance stage one, now you're getting into a tuner to, get the more fuel into that bike, because due to EPA standards, Harley tunes them kind of lean. Not to the dangerous part, but they're kind of lean. And so it's literally limiting your performance. that the motorcycle or the motor puts out.
I can see that. But that's
So-
what I'm saying. When you start talking that way, then you're just limited to power plant.
Right.
But
Now, doing the add-ons like suspension and brakes, that's not, in my opinion, considered a stage one. Those are add-ons to make the bike safer and also make it perform at its peak performance. You're not hindering its performance.
oh, you're gonna make that bike 10 times better just adding better brakes and better suspension to it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But a lot of people don't have the money to throw it all at it at once.
Well,
So most people go in stages, because they do budget builds. And so sometimes they could do it over a year or two. Sometimes they do it over, a longer period of time, between 5 and 7 years. By the time they say, okay, I'm done with the performance aspect of my bike.
that's why I think you should start a new series and do performance stages instead of just Harley stages. That'd be a
Yeah.
great thing for you, Doc. So you could go
Yeah.
over everything.
I agree. I agree.
Because if you
So,
go off the Harley stages, you're going to have a fast bike with crappy suspension and crappy brakes. Because
Which
they don't
is
even talk about that.
which is usually what happens. People build these big
Yep.
horsepower things and they just let everything else ride.
yep, that is absolutely true. And, now that we're moving into the stage 2 aspect, which is basically you're adding a cam, and depending on which camshaft you select, you would either need to replace your push rods with adjustables. As long as the base circle is the same as stock, you can keep your stock push rods, or you could spend the money and get custom cut solid push rods, or you go with the adjustables. And the adjustables, there's always maintenance with those, because you're always chasing an adjustment, because they tend to loosen up over time. And I always recommend, when you do a cam, to do the inner cam bearing and the lifters as a minimum. After mid-year 19, the oil pumps were better from Harley, but I always recommend upgrading the oil pump with that and the cam plate, because billet aluminum is always going to be stronger than cast, and that's what comes from the factories, cast aluminum parts for oil pump and cam plate.
Well, and you're talking about changing. You got to change the lifters. You also want to upgrade your tappet cuff.
Yep.
Um,
Well,
I
depending if it's an M8 or a twin cam.
Well, sure. If okay, let's stick to M8 because that's what most people are building nowadays because that's
Yep.
the latest greatest thing.
Yep.
You have to update the tappet cuff, which I've ran the S&S, but I recommend the tappet plates because it's even better, sturdier, and
The
you can make
tap it right, tap it.
tappet plates.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. Which are a nice option out there. And be completely honest, I mean, they are pricey, but there's a lot that goes into why they're so pricey, with the research, development, engineering,
Yeah,
all
the
that.
quality of the product and the
Yep.
material.
Yep. And that's all billet aluminum as well, correct?
Yep.
So, yep. So that's something, to keep in mind. I always also recommend, when someone steps up to a stage 2, to change out on the M8s the stock plastic intake manifold to whether it's an HPI or an S&S or a Screaming Eagle or Fuel Moto intake manifold. I personally like HPI because they come already ported and polished, where the other ones, that's an additional service charge to get that done.
Right.
Because HPIs are CNC machined, where the rest of them are cast.
Right. And I run HPI right now. As of right now, I run an HPI. But what we've been seeing, Revolution has upped that HPI quality and gains even more with their
Really?
design. Yes.
Okay.
So HPI, love it. Nothing, zero things to say bad about HPI. But right now, Revolution Performance has even upped that even more.
And Revolution's been in the performance game for years. I mean, back in 2011, when I built my Softail, the bottom end was all Revolution. On an 80 cubic inch to 85 cubic inch Softail with 10.5 to 1 compression. So, I mean, it was a decent bottom end, or part of the top end. You know, it was a good motor. It made a lot of power.
Yeah, I'm just putting it out there to give more people to research and look at.
Yep, give them options.
Yeah, because right now, like I said, I run HPI. Don't have anything bad to say about it, except right now their lead times can get a little long.
Yep.
But also, what we've been doing, we've actually been seeing even more games out of the same investment by going to the Revolution product right now. So,
yeah. See, Jake says it right here. And I've been slipping on the side check, guys. Sorry. Revolution manifolds are cheaper as well. Now, I'm going to have to research them because I got the HPI Tunnel Ram 70 millimeter on Spaceball,
right.
which I'm in love with that intake. If they have something that's compatible, I'll be interested in looking at it. Not buying it, but looking to see what they have.
So you're running about the same setup as I am then.
Yeah.
So yeah, we did that, and of course changed the throttle body out to go along with it. So
yep. And it says in nowhere the lead time. I could tell you when I ordered mine, the Tunnel Ram part was on back order. There was a 6 to 8 week lead time from the time they received the order with the core of the throttle body. And they wouldn't take a Screaming Eagle throttle body. It had to be a Harley Davidson throttle body that you sent them for the actuator, for the throttle actuator on the throttle body. And you don't get that back because I guess it gets destroyed, or I don't know what they do with it after that. Honestly, don't care. But I got it in 3 weeks. So I was very happy with that lead time.
Just options for people to look at.
There's a lot of options. I mean, talk about options. At that point, you also want to look at your clutch, because now that's going to be the weak part of your drive line. And everybody says, well, I need a performance clutch. I need a performance clutch. You don't always need a performance clutch. Whether it's an M8 or a twin cam, you can use what they call a variable rate pressure plate. And the way that works, the tighter it spins, or the faster that clutch basket spins, the tighter that pressure plate will squeeze the plates. On Spaceball, I'm still running the stock clutches. In 6,000 miles of, riding it spirited, I did upgrade the springs to 30% stiffer, and I do have a variable rate pressure plate on it as well. So I did everything I could to enhance that stock clutch, and it's not even close to slipping.
See, I'm a little biased. I'm a Recluse clutch fan because I've put it through the mill.
Well, you're one of the lucky ones, because I've been reading a lot of people complaining about the Recluse clutches, and roughly 7 out of 10 of them have been failing and having problems. And I'm not just talking about the hydraulic portion for your hydraulic clutch on the right side of the transmission. I'm talking about the clutch plates, their baskets, everything. They're having issues of slippage and everything like that.
And all I can say is keep your eye out this coming year, because I know what you're talking about. And I know because we've ran into a few of those issues and figured out what was wrong. And all I can say is watch out for this coming year with what Recluse is about to do.
Okay. There'll be something interesting to see.
Yep.
And so there are some options there to upgrading your clutch when you're starting to build your performance bikes. The intake manifold is not necessary. I don't always say it's necessary to take care of your clutch.
You say the intake manifold is not necessary, but
it's strongly recommended.
Yes, when you're talking about coming to tuning and everything else, that's like one part that I can literally show you huge gains by adding that
Oh yeah,
into the safety.
I have dyno sheets of just changing from the plastic 55 millimeter to the S&S 55 millimeter that's not poured and polished.
Right.
That's was like $200 and gained 10 horses. That's $20 per horsepower, which is really for the dollar horsepower ratio. That's pretty darn good.
Yeah.
Spend $20 to get one horse, or retrospectively, you spend 200 and gain 10 horse. Dyno sheets to prove it. Same day, same dyno, same tuner, same everything. Only thing I changed was the intake manifold, and that was on the 114 stage 2 I had on Spaceball.
So manifold to air cleaners, because there's a bunch of different air cleaners you can go through.
Absolutely. Air
Like,
cleaners, it really gets tricky, especially when you start upping the size of your intake manifold and throttle body, because most air cleaners are built and designed for the 55 millimeter, and they will work with the 64 millimeter. But what happens is you got a small hole feeding a big bucket, so you end up with turbulence in the airstream. Now we're getting into engine design and performance design, and turbulence is something you don't want when you go with airflow going into your motor and out of your motor.
But if you can get it to do the centrifugal and force its way in,
yeah,
then you're going to gain even more.
Exactly, because you're increasing the air volume. But if your air cleaner matches up perfectly to your throttle body, and your throttle body matches up perfectly to your intake manifold, you really minimize the amount of turbulence that gets created.
Yeah, I mean, I've run, like you, Doc. I've run so many different air cleaners, and I don't know. I'm just what I've seen. I'm a big fan of the T-Man no loss setup.
Mm-hmm.
Huge fan of it.
Yep.
But the problem is, it's a little more on the pricey side, which
Yep.
is that's why I understand more people don't run it.
A lot of people ask me, what's a good air cleaner? I says, well, what's your budget on air cleaner? Well, how much can they be? I says, they could start at $200 and go up from there. I've seen air cleaner setups, and everybody calls it the air intake. It's not the air intake, it's the air cleaner assembly. That assembly I've seen go up as high as $1,500 to $1,800 for a 55 millimeter.
Now you're getting into T-Man setups.
Yep. But you're talking design, you're talking style. Like, well, they say pick something you like.
Mm-hmm.
If I pick it and I like it, doesn't mean you're going to like it.
Right.
Like I put the Arlen Ness 65 millimeter, 64 degree intake manifold on my Road Glide because I like that look. And it just doesn't grab the air from the sides. It also grabs it from the front.
Plus, it depends on what you're trying to accomplish. Like
Right.
if we know you're only if you're trying to accomplish this, you know that you don't need to spend the extra money. We can accomplish it with this less expensive option.
Well, everybody wants to get. Whenever I do a build for somebody, I always say I want to get the most horsepower and torque out of my bike. Well, okay, just start bringing a duffel bag full of money, and we'll pull your motor out, and we'll start, building you a motor from the ground up.
Yeah.
I said, I want to go fast. He said, I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Literally, Tweedle said, "This is what I got. I want to go fast," and that's where we went.
And Jake, that 117 factory snorkel sucks. You need to take that off and throw it in a dumpster.
Yep. Or put it up on Marketplace. Somebody will buy it because they think it's a huge upgrade for their bike when it's not. Actually, that flat pancake air cleaner works better than
what I got. Talking about the one I have, the extreme ventilator.
Yep, that works phenomenally well. But even the double threat pancake one that comes on some of the bikes, works better than that 90-degree cone one that Harley puts on.
Right.
Not only does mine suck more air, but it also safely allows me to operate the brake without having to contort my leg to get to the brake.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I'm taller than Jake, so Jake might not have that problem.
Jake, you might be able to get anywhere from $100 to $150 for that air cleaner. Trust
So
me, somebody will buy it.
you'll be able to pay taxes and shipping on your T-Man.
Yeah. Oh, it's a good idea to go. Yep. Talk about when it's not a good idea to go too big on the intake as magic parts. Yes, that is exactly true. When you are going for a larger and more flowing air cleaner, I would always recommend, even on a stage 2, changing out your stock injectors, because you're looking at duty cycles and how much of the duty cycle you're using of that injector, and you could be pushing the limit. Injector duty cycles, you usually don't want to run more than 75%, because if you do, you run into a situation where they will no longer cycle open close. They can either get stuck closed or they get stuck open.
And your spray pattern, what degree your spray pattern is inside the cylinder.
Absolutely. Which Friday I'm going to be doing injectors on a 103 twin cam. I'll be doing a video on that because I really haven't found any good ones on YouTube yet. So I'm going to put one out. So watch for that video. That should be coming up here, not this week, but maybe next week. It all depends on how things work out.
So let's get to stage 3, because this is a Harley Davidson stage 3. I have a problem with what they're saying,
which is your jugs, your pistons, your piston rings, and a wrist pin.
but yet you're still running the same flow rate heads.
Yep. And you're taking the heads off anyways. Now, if you've seen any of my videos of what is the stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, or stage 4, I'll tell you, if you're doing a stage 3, save your money till you get the heads and go right to stage 4, because you are limiting your motor. Actually, you're choking your motor.
Right. You're not getting all you can get out of it by
exactly,
because your flow rate.
Here's my problem with stage 3. You call it a 114 stage 3 or 117 stage 3, wherever you want. Once you change the size of that jug, you're no longer that motor anymore. Fall into a totally different class.
Right.
If head should be before bore.
Right. And if you're going to go from, let's say, the most common motor right now is the 114. Right. So if you're going to do a stage 3 from a 114 and you bring it to a 124 with stock heads, you're really choking down that motor. And you're not really building a good performance motor that's going to last.
Well, that's what I'm saying is we can do a good set of heads and make that 114 run better than if you bumped it up to a big bore, because we're able to flow better out of what's there.
Exactly. So I think Harley actually got it backwards. The stage 3 should be heads. Then the stage 4 would be adding displacement.
Yeah. But like Tweel says, once you add displacement, then you're going to another motor size.
Yeah. You're no longer a 114.
Right.
Like I put on Spaceballs, so my custom dirt recover came in. It said 114 plus 17 made it 131-ish. Well, because it wasn't ish, because it's not really it's still 131 cubic inch, but the stock valve train went in the garbage. I did keep the cam. I did do that. But everything else went in the garbage.
Right. But I'm just saying, like, Tweel talks, I want more out of that. I'm like, dude, all I would do to yours, if you really want to bump a little bit more, just put a good set of heads on it. We can retune, reflow everything, and that thing's going to be a month.
I would change heads and injectors.
Yeah. I want to keep it at 117 for sure.
Right. And then you're not adding all that heat to your motor.
Right.
That's reliability too.
you're flowing more. And when you're looking at heads, you want to go with a larger intake and even larger exhaust.
Mm-hmm.
So if you went 1 millimeter or 2 millimeter larger on your exhaust in your intake, you want to go 2 to 3 millimeter larger on your exhaust. You always want your exhaust larger than your intake.
Exactly. I'm glad
Yes,
you
I
said.
did, Jake. Zen has a question. I don't know if you want to address it currently, but you might want to flag it.
Okay, what's the average miles you get on a full tank? On my stage 2 bike with larger injectors, because I went from the 5.5 to 6.3 gram injectors, with the aluminum intake. Of course, I did the variable rate pressure plate. I built I call it complete stage 2. I am getting roughly about 190 miles out of a tank on the highway. And if I'm just ripping around town between highway and city, I'm right around between 160 to 175, depending on how spirited I get. How about you, Tweedle?
Stock mine was over 240. After it balanced out, I had to run probably about 10 tanks of gas through it to balance it out. But if I conservatively ride, it's about 220 on the interstate, and I don't know, probably about 210 in the city. If I
Yep.
ride spirited, which is most of the time, it varies depending on who I'm with and how hard I'm riding, to be honest, because it'll
Yep.
be anywhere from the 175 to 195 mile range.
I'm just running a can tune, which is a custom tune that Fumoto had in stock. I just threw that on my bike because I have yet saved enough of my pennies to pay for a dyno tune for my CVO.
Mhm.
So once I get that, I should see better fuel efficiency out of that bike.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a loaded question on that, really, because if you're just a rider that does the speed limit, may go 10 miles over and doesn't do any more than that, you'll probably lose 10, maybe 20 miles off of what you're already doing. But I came off a 103 breakout, so I was lucky to be hitting 180 on a good day.
Yeah.
So my range is no worse than the breakout.
Yeah. See, now Spaceball, that's been through 2 different dyno sessions. And the final dyno tune I had, it was by a guy who's been literally dyno tuning forever. He's an 80-year-old guy. He's been tuning bikes with jets back in the day, to include up till today's fuel injected bikes. And just with the tune, he was able to gain me 13 horsepower, another 6 pounds of foot-pound of torque, and my fuel efficiency on that 4.5 gallon tank on the Softail went from 117 miles on a tank of gas to 155 miles on a tank of gas, which is pretty impressive for 4.5 gallons on a monster motor like that.
You don't want to ask me.
Well, right now you're getting all the miles per gallon.
Well, that's why I said it's a loaded question. It really all revolves around how you ride.
Yes.
And who you ride with.
Hang on, you got to put in more factors than that. You got your elevation, you got your temperature, your air temp. You got like all kinds of factors because down in Miami, I could get 210 miles, but if I go ride Pikes Peak, I'm lucky to get 100 miles. It's drastic change. What?
For some reason, my bike.
Oh yeah, Crystal's 114 used more gas. That's because you drive like that. That's why you use more gas in the truck than me too.
Well, to answer Writing's question, you ask 100 people that question, what's a good clutch? You'll get 100 different answers.
Well, like you said, just putting that what's that ASMR on the clutch,
the AIM,
yeah, or what? Yeah, the variable plate,
variable rate pressure plate.
Yep. I haven't ran it, but I've talked to people that's ran it, and everybody loves it. Says it does a great job. So
Yep. But I've heard people have good luck with the Screaming Eagle clutch. I've heard people have good luck with Barrett clutches. Drew's had good luck with Recluse.
Yep.
Tweedle, you're still running the stock clutch with upgraded springs, right?
Springs and plate.
Springs and plate. There you go.
Yeah, and they
So-
went up on injector size too, the 5.5s.
There you go.
Now I think, don't hold me to it. I know there's a difference. I did not look at the box, but the intake manifold was bigger than the factory. So I don't know if it was 58 or was the other 62. I think
64. It's
64.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know which one of the two it is, but they did go up a size.
It's
At
probably
least one.
It's probably 58 because 64 would have hindered you with the stock throttle body. So
Yeah, that's what I've been kind of thinking. It was a 58.
but at the same time, a lot of this stuff is going to dictate your budget and what you're trying to achieve.
Mhm.
So
Yep. So
Yeah, I said I wanted to go fast. They made it go fast. I'd have said I wanted to rotate the earth. It would have been a torque monster.
yep.
So
I like to rotate the earth the best I can.
I like to go fast.
Yeah. Well,
That's-
I
I try. I only get a few rotations.
yep.
But
But-
I did get a good side by side comparison of torque cam and horsepower cam this past weekend.
Did
So,
you?
Yeah.
Or did you get a good comparison of rider and granny shifting?
Oh, sweet Jesus!
Now
Look,
that's
just because you don't use your clutch, don't mean I have to.
listen. That also comes into a performance bike. I mean, is the rider.
Yeah.
You know, are you a performance rider on a performance bike, or are you a rider on a performance bike? Because
Mhm.
performance riders power shift at that sweet spot in the RPM range. You know, they just roll it off that split second shift and just keep going. They don't depress the clutch at all. I'd ride with guys all the time that believe the clutch is only for downshifting and starting off. And they don't use the clutch ever since. But then they wonder why, you know, they're chewing up gears in their transmission because they're doing it all the time. They wonder why their compensators are, you know, failing. Maybe because it's the rolling burnouts. Maybe it's the, you know, constant power shifting around town and, you know, rolling up on the highway by yourself. Yeah, you're having fun, but fun costs money.
I haven't learned to do that, so I'm not going to blow my bike up trying to learn it.
Well, once you learn
I'll
it,
use
you
my
still
clutch.
will
I'm
blow-
still fast with the clutch. So,
and once you learn it, you still take a chance of blowing up your bike.
oh yeah, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
The stock transmissions are, and even the Barrett transmissions, they can't handle a whole lot of power and a whole lot of shock. I've seen a lot of people out there with the Barrett 6-speeds with the gears just stripped off of them.
So what we've been doing and we've had great success is we back cut the gears and then crow dip them, and they have been holding very well. I
There
mean,
you go.
we've been beating the crap out of them, and they've been holding up very well.
Yep. And
'Cause-
give everybody an
'cause-
idea, you know your transmission shot when you lose second gear.
Or when you shift from third to fourth and you got a second neutral, you're like, "What in the world's going on here?"
Yep. Yep. So
Well, that's
Jake
a true
said-
statement right there.
yeah, high performance equals high maintenance. So if you have a high performance bike, you just can't go out, ride it, enjoy it, and then park it. There's going to be some maintenance to be done after the ride. It's that simple. Because if you don't stay up on the maintenance, things will break on you that shouldn't. One of the
Crystal
things
just
I
said,
like to do after a spirited ride on Spaceball is I'll bring it in, put it right on the lift, and I start torque checking everything. If I could see it, I'd put a wrench up or a ratchet on it. You know, make sure it's tight. And believe it or not, there's times I'll go out and find something that loosened up.
Crystal just said every time.
Yep. Corey goes, big motor, big power. Even the grudge boxes are failing. Yep.
Actually, that's what I was getting ready to talk about. That's why we started the back cut with the cryo dip, because we actually went through Let's see, they had 3 failures. Yeah, same bike, 3 grudge box failures, same problem.
Yep. And those grudge boxes are about $6,000.
Yep. Now they stood behind it.
Oh, that's good.
But it got to the point like, all right, we got to find a solution because customer's not happy. We got to find something a little bit better.
Yep.
So that's where what we do now with the transmissions. That's where it came from.
So Jake brings up a good point. Where is the balance of performance and increased maintenance? This is my personal opinion. The good balance for maintenance to performance would be your stage 2 with a full exhaust, a good tune, intake manifold injectors, good cam plate and cam with cam bearings, and a good cam with lifters. That is a good bike that you could take out, go ride, have a good time, bring it home, park it, and not have to do a whole lot of maintenance, but some will have to be done, but not a whole lot. And, some maintenance might be, okay, let's check the motor oil. Let's check your tire wear. Let's check your belt. Make sure your belt's still in good shape because those things have been known to fray and strip off teeth, depending on how much horsepower, which will segue into when is a good time to go to a chain drive. And also a upgraded compensator or a compensator delete. Now you're talking big horsepower, big power.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Once you start increasing the bore size and your pistons and everything, that's when you're going to start getting into high maintenance because you're increasing power, you're increasing heat, vibration, all of it. I'm right there with you.
And I could tell you for the best deal, for the best performance out of your bike, stage 2.
Mm-hmm.
You could spend anywhere from $3,000 to $4,500 on a complete stage 2. Take a stock bike, going right to stage 2, and see your biggest gains in horsepower and torque. Now, after that, the amount of money goes up on a steep hill, a steep climb, but your horsepower creeps up very slowly. Same thing with your torque. Full transparency. I had a very mild cam in my 114. It was the Zippers 468, which is a bolt-in cam, which means I didn't have to change my push rods. It made 107 horse at the tire, 126 foot-pounds of torque, which is a good torque number for a stage 2. 114, good torque number. That was all said and done $3,200 plus my labor. So I went from 80 horse to 106 horse. That was a 26 horsepower jump. I went from around 82 foot-pounds of torque to about 90 foot-pounds of torque to 126 foot-pounds of torque. So for that bit of money, I saw the largest gains. Now in Spaceball, in parts alone, to go from the 107 horse to 126 foot-pounds of torque, to gain to 153 horse and 164 foot-pounds of torque. Everybody sitting down for this? Get a defibrillator ready? And I did all the labor. I'm into it for $16,000. That's right, $16,000.
You didn't see me flinch, did you?
Nope.
I knew what was coming. I think it's another thing people aren't realizing. You're explaining it great. You're explaining it. That jump from what you get out of a stage 2 to like what we're doing, you're talking tens of thousands of dollars to build that power. And like you're saying, you did the labor. What do you think about in our shop when we're doing it for other people? Like it's
add
It's time
another
to
$4,000 to $6,000 in labor to that minimum.
what? Oh yeah, she's like 3 engines.
Yeah. Well, that's because they didn't make anything that could withstand your abuse.
Well, we're still
The science to
we're
building a badass stage two or even a high horsepower engine. I mean, you got to know what parts actually work together with each other, and the tuner, I mean, tuners are dime a dozen, really, but you really want the best tuners,
Right.
but
And a
but
lot of
because
people
that makes or break a bike.
buy the Fuel Pack 3 when they first start the performance build because it's an easy tuner. But you're limiting yourself because after stage 1, even though Vance and Hines says it does work with stage 2, I can tell you from personal experience, it does not. I
No.
chased auto tuning, uploading the tune to Vance and Hines. They're making adjustments. I said, you should be fine. I download it, I load it, and it's still running like garbage in all aspects of it. So I end up literally throwing that piece out in the garbage. That was $450 at the time, not $400 at the time. And I spent another $450 for the DynoJet Power Vision tuner, which is now almost $700. So it's better to bite the bullet now to get a tuner, whether it's the Trask tuner, the any one of the
But
DynoJet Power Vision or PV3 tuner, or what's the one I'm thinking about?
Thundermax.
Thundermax.
Max.
Good
Yeah.
Thundermax tuner. And the Thundermax tuner actually can limit you on bigger horsepower.
That's the problem I had. Once you get to a certain point, it does great. I'm not going down it. It does great. But when you get to a certain point of what we're trying to do, it limits you, especially on the timing side. When we're trying to really push that timing out, it limits us. So,
Right.
and even though you tell it to do it, it's not going to actually do it. It's going,
Exactly. Because it builds off a base map that you download from Thundermax, and from there you can make your adjustments. You can't build a custom tune from scratch.
Mm-mm.
Where with the DynoJet Power Vision, you can. My tuner did it. I didn't do it. He spent a day and a half on the dyno. He did the best he could. And that's why I went to another tuner who's been at this game a long time. And I shoot myself in the foot every day for not going to him first, because I probably could have saved myself $1,200. He put the bike on there, rebuilt a whole new tune from the ground up in 3 hours, and the air fuel ratios are good. He added time and removed timing where the first tuner did not touch timing at all. And that comes with experience.
it does. It really it's like anything else. Seat time brings experience, and unfortunately nowadays it's not dissing the new guys in the game, but the guys that are doing performance builds that sit in dyno rooms for hours on end, those are the guys you need to go find because they're going to have the experience to know what to do.
Yep. And that's all this guy does for a living. He actually has his dyno in a trailer. It's a 8.5 by 16-foot trailer. And you ride the bike up in there, you clamp it in, he hooks up and he tunes. So if you're doing more than 6 bikes, he'll come to you. But if it's less than 6 bikes, you go to him. Well, you know what? I'll bring my bike to him. And I did.
Yeah. Twitter went to Miami.
I had a question on that. How accurate is that dyno with it being on a trailer getting shook and bounce all over the road versus one in a shop that's bolted down stationary?
Okay, I can tell you this from moving dynos.
That's what I'm asking.
It's not actually
Seriously.
it's not the movement. It's the calibration of it once they put it in. As long as it's calibrated when it's put in, because we've bounced around dynos and put them back together, and they're still on the money.
I was curious. I didn't know if traveling one on the back of a trailer bouncing around would affect anything or not.
See that, Tweedle?
It depends on how long the race is.
Or the
True
rider.
statement. No, I mean seriously, it depends on how long the race is.
Brother Mike is in Daytona. Right on. Glad
Tell
you
me
made
that,
it there
Mike.
safe.
Dude, you should have went over to OF and said, "What's up?" So,
Well, he's going to be there for the whole rally, so he'll go down. I'm sure he'll go down. He's going to go see Mike at Suspension Tech. So, he's going to make his rounds. But now comes to a good point. And Tweedle, in your opinion, when is a good time to upgrade the stock compensator?
After seeing one explode, I want to get out. Mine's still stock right now, but I do want to get mine done as soon as I can afford to.
Okay. And which one are you looking at?
Dark Horse, probably.
Dark Horse, which is a very good compensator. How about you, Hells?
well, in my opinion, Tweedle should already be changing his compensator because he's there. He's there where it's going to come apart.
Yep.
One day it's going to come apart. In my opinion, once you break the 100 horsepower club, you start looking at that. Unless you want to just, I wouldn't do a comp delete until you're over 155, 150, 155. Because when you're doing that, you're building for a purpose.
Yeah. See, Corey's got a good point. After Mrs. Hells blows it up.
Mm-hmm.
See what happens when it blows up too.
Yeah. So, in my opinion, when you reach that 110 horsepower, that's when you need to upgrade your compensator. However, the stock compensators are okay for stock. Anything after that, it's playing Russian roulette, in my opinion.
Right. That's why I say once you hit the 100 horsepower club, you need to look at upgrading it.
Yeah. Now, when do you feel, Hells, to go to a compensator delete, which is a direct drive from your pinion shaft or your crankshaft to your transmission?
Once you start breaking that 150 plus horsepower club, because like I said, you're building for a purpose then.
Mm-hmm.
And because I've already seen the problems you have with a compensator, especially nothing against some, but some have a very steep angle to them, and you're just smacking the crap out of them with all that power, and they go poof.
Yep. Jake brings
That's
up
what I'm waiting on.
good point right here. When you do the compensator, why not upgrade the clutch at the same time? If the funds are available to you, perfect time to do it because it's all coming apart anyways.
Right.
Big shout out to Tweedle. Just so everybody knows, my brother Mike rode from Connecticut to Daytona via Tennessee. Tweedle took him out yesterday, showed him a good time. $20 is $20, right? Showed him a great time over on the Devil's Triangle after he rode the Dragon. And, he rode 1,700 miles.
Said he liked the Devil's Triangle more than the Dragon, too.
I told him that. And I've never been on the Devil's Triangle, but from the videos I've seen, the pictures that I've seen, the less congestion that's on Devil's Triangle.
They got trails coming off of Razors, and we had a couple mud spots where they just tracked it across the road. We had to slow way down for and kind of get through it, clean the tires off, and keep going. But
yeah,
that's okay. That's okay, Doc. You can say that until you come ride the Hellbender, and then you'd be like, yeah.
And Gliding brings up a good point. You're already going to be in there, save on the labor cost.
Exactly. What if you're saving for it? What's another month or two to get the whole thing done at once?
Yep.
Don't want to change one. Have to buy another quart of primary fluid and gasket. just to take it apart a couple months later to replace the clutch and buy more primary fluid and another set of gaskets. Just do it once, all at one time.
What's your opinion to go to a compensated delete?
I don't know. I hear if you screw up, you can twist the crank, and then you're in the world of hurt.
Absolutely.
So for me, I wouldn't, because of my skill level.
Well, when you go to a compensated delete, and you can bolt it right on and have a great time with it for a time period. Because eventually, what a compensator does, it absorbs the pulses of the engine and the shock going back to your transmission. So without that, the only thing absorbing that now is your crankshaft.
Mm-hmm.
One of two things have to be done to your crankshaft to ensure you don't twist it, or both, like I have on Spaceball. Because your pinion shaft, where your connecting rods go through, is hollow in the center. And a performance shop, machine shop, can press in a slug that expands it just enough so it doesn't slip. There's that option. Or you get your crankshaft trued to almost zero run out and then have your flywheels welded to that pinion shaft on both sides, and not just one bead on one side, one bead on the other, and then you're done. And with that will bulletproof the whole twisting of your crankshaft, where you increase run out if it twists.
Oh, that's what I'm saying, is when you get to a certain horsepower, especially, he talks about dark horse compensator, and the ramps are so steep, so when you're shocking it and then smacking it, I've seen them just go apart.
Yep. So now here it goes, because of the dumb internals as a bike motor, so the compensator was the alternate of the month. My pleasure. What is better fuel mileage without losing horsepower or torque? I want better fuel mileage. Well,
a Tesla.
I tell you, less throttle input.
A Tesla is very fast. It's got great fuel mileage.
No, I'm just saying the stage one, because you get a stage two, you're going to be hitting the throttle. As soon as you get that initial shock, you're going to be wanting it all the time. You're just going to be laying on it. So,
because my opinion is those two things do not go together.
Yeah.
No.
No, it doesn't, because once it's welded, it gets rebalanced if you have a good machine shop doing it. And that's when having, a good machine shop available to you, like OF Performance or Baxter's Garage, who's now in Tennessee. Highly recommend them if you're going to send a motor out to be built, because he'll do whatever you want. And he's got the machine shop and all the equipment to do it.
Well, we work with Revolution. That's who we work with.
Okay. Revolution's a good company.
Yeah.
And, gliding, Nori, is just like the rest of us on the screen. Screw gas mileage, just have fun.
Yeah, don't take much to fill it back up.
Yep. And Zen says basically get the engineered parts that are designed. It should finish on designed to work together. Because you could pick a cam and pick an exhaust that don't work well together, and then now you have problems.
And we just had a great example of that at the dealership, because I showed up and they were going to go with this one setup, and I'm like, whoa. I gave my opinion. So they got told to go with my opinion. They did it, and they were like, holy crap, they've never rode something so fast.
Yep.
And it was stuff they hadn't heard of. I'm like, how have you not heard of this parts? But around here, the more traditional is you hear about the SNSs and stuff, and I'm kind of pushing them into a different realm that docks in with me on
Mhm.
parts, and they're just like, psh. But
Mind
it's
blown.
yeah, that's
Some
where
shops
Yeah.
leave in SNS cams, and that's all they'll install. They won't
right.
even look at different cams. See, you when you go to a good shop where you sit down with either the service writer or the service manager or the mechanic, and in my shop, that's all me. And I went over with the bike I'm doing now, talking to him how he rides, where he wants the power to come in, doing the mathematical equation, which you're going to need a PhD in math, I think, because I have to break out a calculator and it hurts my brain to do it, to pick a cam, because you're looking at your lift, you're looking at your duration, you're looking at what degree that lift is on the intake and exhaust side, on your leading and trailing edge. Usually they're the same, but I found some cams where the trailing edge is 1 degree less, so it snaps closed faster than it does opening up.
Yeah.
Which is a great cam. So he came in mind of, I want this cam because that's what my friends say I should get, and I would be happy with that. And I says, okay, let's look at that cam. How do you ride? When do you want that power to come in? And I showed him mathematically on paper that he would be highly disappointed with that camshaft.
A lot of people, they research cams and just look at torque numbers and horsepower numbers, like, oh, that's the cam I want.
You can't do that
Not
because,
not knowing the rest of the internals that went with it to produce those numbers
well,
and where it was located.
you could take two identical bikes,
Mm-hmm.
motors built one after the other on the same day, assembled down in York, PA, on the whole bike being assembled another day, the same day, one after another. For instance, your Road Glide ST was built in front and behind another Road Glide ST. How those were assembled, how those tolerances are, will affect those numbers. If people sit there and says, well, I bought this kit, they say it's 130 horse. Why am I only getting 115? Well, one, how are the tolerances when it was built? How was it broken in? How was it maintained? How was it tuned? Was it the 130 horse at sea level and you're at 3,000 feet above sea level? How much humidity was in the air? What was the barometric pressure for that day? A lot of that comes into what size or whatever, horsepower you get. And
So
you
many
could
factors.
take one bike, put it on this dyno machine number A, do 3 power pulls, cool it back down to where it was temperature wise when it went on dyno machine A, go right onto dyno machine B, get it to the same operation, do those same 3 pulls. I guarantee you no two numbers from A to B will match up.
No.
Guaranteed.
Now you can get them close. They'll be close to each other, but they're not going to be exact. But this is where you're getting into and what we're talking about. There's so many factors to go into this of what goes together to create what you're trying to do.
Yep.
You got to think as a whole picture, not
And it
just the
all
game.
boils down to the rider. How does he ride and when does he want it to come in? Or he or
Right.
she. Because you could build your bike for you. Would it be right for Crystal? She would have fun on it, but it might not be right for her. She might want the power to come in sooner or later than what you have.
Right.
The rider makes the bike, not the bike makes the rider.
Exactly. And you
Yeah.
can overbuild a bike for a rider and put them in a lot of trouble.
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah, I tried to talk her into a 107 stage 2, but she didn't want it. So
why would you limit Crystal? Wait till she gets on Spaceball.
oh my gosh.
That's going to happen.
But talking about your experience, what you're talking about, same realm I'm in, we're all in the same realm. What I'm kind of seeing is Harley dealerships have people that can do it. They're just limited, and they're not. These younger guys are not getting experience because that's not what they do.
Right.
Not they can't do it. It's just not what they do or what they're allowed to do.
Right. Or like a friend of ours didn't want to stay the extra time at school to go over that part of the schooling.
I don't know.
Well, you also got to think too, they're restricted on their tuning on EPA. So even if you go to Harley and you have that stage 2 done,
yes and no.
You can take it over to another shop and they're going to get better numbers out of that stage 2 than Harley.
Yes and no, depending on how compliant that dealership wants to be.
Right.
I see some dealerships that sit there and say, screw the EPA, we're going to make our customer happy.
I hadn't bumped into those yet.
Or I've seen dealerships saying, we won't install anything other than Screaming Eagle parts because they're all EPA compliant.
And this is where what we just did at the dealership, that now it's going through all the owner dealerships, and they're like, well, we need to look at this and we need to look at that because it just blew their mind. It's because I guess they limit themselves on it because what they have to do. And now they're like, a lot of these dealerships are seeing the writing on the wall where the industry is going. I do have to say a lot of dealerships are in talk, and you might see a few changes coming this year out of Harley.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. So now, Tweedo, when do you feel, in your opinion, that you would need to change from a belt drive to a chain drive? Because a lot of people like that look and want that, not realizing how much labor goes into it and how much maintenance goes into it. But at what point do you think it becomes necessary over a want?
For me, even if I went through a turbo on mine, I'd keep the belt because I would rather break the belt and not destroy the rim, the swing arm, the frame from the chain slapping around. I'd rather not do any of that. So I'd rather just break the belt and have to replace the belt.
But you're leaving performance on the table.
Yeah,
You will get a better one.
You got budget. You know what I'm saying? There's a budget play in that.
Yeah, there's that. But
will a chain snap? Yes, it can snap. Is it more likely to snap than a belt? Probably not. I'd hope not, anyways. I never had a chain snap. But
at what point do you think it has to be done? That's the question on the table.
Well, from what I've seen from like my builders who race big money races and they still had belts and they were 170 plus horsepower and still running a belt.
But we're not running factory belts.
Still a belt.
I'm just saying we're not running factory belts.
Right.
Yeah, but I'm saying it's still a belt. It's not the factory, but it's still a belt. It's not a chain drive. So, I mean, if it's good enough for them, if it's good enough for them to bet big money on a race and it not, them do pretty good.
But what I'm saying is
probably about $1,000 too.
Yeah, but what I'm saying what I'm trying to get to is I don't want you to say that and people be on here, well, I'll be fine with my factory setup, da-da-da. It's still not a factory setup.
No.
I'm talking
it's an aftermarket belt, but it's still a belt.
I'm talking a factory belt. When you're building your performance bike, at what point do you feel that OEM belt should be replaced with a chain drive?
Anything past stage 2.
Say it really depends on the rider.
Yeah. You could have a guy
you could like you say, you could build
that doesn't go past 3,000 RPM.
You could put me on a bike and Hills on a bike. I guarantee you he'd snap that belt before I did.
Hells walks
Right.
up to
So-
a bike that's got a factory belt and snaps out of fear.
Mine didn't.
I didn't, but I didn't dig yours as hard as I did mine.
No, but you
I-
still
I
pulled
know
her hair and
how.
smacked her ass.
I know how to ride it. That's what I'm saying. Because like I run a belt. It is not a factory belt setup. It's our aftermarket carbon with a different pulley and all this stuff. And the reason I do it is because I'll be straight up. I don't want to do the maintenance for on long trips and all this stuff. I just don't want to do the maintenance. Now, if I had another bike that I could just ride long trips, yeah, my bike would go directly to chain drive.
Here's one thing that is being forgotten with the belts though is the cush drive.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
On
If
the
you, change
touring
that, if
bike.
you change that, you might as well go ahead and upgrade that while you're at it.
Well, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. What we're running is not factory. The belts, the pulley, yeah, the cush drive's part of the pulley that we upgraded. I don't want people to think, well, I can do it on a factory one. No, I can tell you right now, the factory setup, if you're doing what Doc's doing, what I'm doing stuff, you are going to snap that belt in a heartbeat.
Or strip teeth right off of it.
Yep.
And that's where it comes back to what kind of rider are you?
I mean,
You know what I mean?
I mean, think about it. Well, you saw it, Tweedle. Remember when I crushed my cush drive?
Mm-hmm.
I crushed a
Yep.
green cush to where you could grab a hold of the pulley and looked like a steering wheel.
And that's supposed to be one of the best cush rides out there.
But when you put a high
anybody's-
dollar belt,
Yep. If anybody's wondering what the cush drive is, it's literally a rubber piece inside the left side of your rear wheel that drives your pulley. It's not bolted, it's a slip fit, and it's supposed to absorb impact, giving you that more comfortable ride. Now, Corey, aftermarket belts are not cheaper than a full drive conversion because you're looking at a belt that could cost you upwards of $1,000, if not more, just for the belt. And as always, you're going to replace inner and outer primary gaskets, a quart of fluid with that, and the labor, because you're going to have to pull the swing arm, drop the swing arm up out of the way to do it. Now, when you go to a chain drive, yes, you still have to do the inner and outer primary. You do what I do is I take a right angle grinder and I cut the belt right off, throw in the garbage because I'm not putting the belt back on. And you don't have to remove the swing arm to feed a new chain. So no, it is not cheaper.
I think he means if the chain snaps, it would be cheaper. That's why I think he was going with that.
Yeah, but if you do the maintenance properly on your chain drive, which is, cleaning the chain on a regular schedule, I say every 500 to 1,000 miles, clean and relubricate your chain and readjust your chain, and make sure you don't adjust it too tight. You want it tighter than a belt, but you don't want it too tight because then you're going to go into destroying bearings and things like that.
But what happens if you're a long distance rider and you throw 1,000 miles down in a day?
You're cleaning and lubricating your chain, or at the minimum, relube that chain.
remember when I said I was lazy and didn't want to do that?
Yep. See, but like on my Softail, I don't throw 1,000 miles a day on my Softail. I'm just
but there's some people that want power and they still tour, because I think that's where that one originally started.
Well, there's a fine balance between power and comfort for touring.
Mm-hmm.
And in my opinion, if you're going to tour, don't go past a cam. Don't go big bore. Don't even think about compensator deletes or chain drives or upgraded comp, yes. But at that point, it's overbuilt at that point.
Why are you pointing at me, Crystal? Doc does a speech and she's everyone.
She's like, listen to him. Speaking to
Gliding on twos has a really good point. If you put Hales behind the bars or something, he's going to break it.
Yep. And how long do chains supposed to last when you're pulling a primary swap sprockets? Well, again, that comes down to maintenance, Jake. How often do you maintain that chain? How well do you maintain that chain? Do you clean it religiously every 500 miles? Do you lubricate it religiously every 500 miles? Do you clean it and lubricate it religiously every 1,000 miles, plus or minus 10%? I always leave that plus or minus because you're never going to get to a facility for you to clean it or a place for you to clean it, because you're going to have somebody roll the bike if you don't have a lift available or a jack for you to clean it and then lubricate it. So those are very important. And then check the adjustment and readjust if need be. When I bring Spaceball down to Daytona, I'm bringing chain cleaner and the chain cleaning brush and lube, because it is dusty and dirty at the Cackleberry, and I don't want that getting caught up in my O-ring chain, tearing up the O-rings.
Yeah,
I'm already planning ahead, doing maintenance on my own motorcycle on vacation.
Yeah, Doc just rides down the road and claims that he's doing 100 miles an hour. That way it happens like that.
No, see, I'm like Jax Teller. I ride down the road, take my hand off the throttle, and turn around and point a gun.
Yeah.
You know?
Jake, don't get any ideas.
No so idea. He needs to be working on a burnout, not the rest of this right now.
Well, I think he's worried about breaking his belt on a burnout, which you won't do.
No,
I've done a burnout on his bike. It handles it. It's fine. Like,
if it survived you, it'll survive Jake.
I mean, Jake might need 2 milk crates, but I mean, other than that, he should be able to do it.
I mean, I did it in shorts and flip flops, so Jake should be able to do it.
Yeah. And, which segues into the next section. We roughly brushed upon it earlier. You build a performance motor all the way back to your final drive system. You got all this go, and you got the stock whoa, which means you're not going to stop.
Oh my gosh.
As you increase performance, you should always increase braking. And believe it or not, a big component in braking is your suspension. And if you don't believe me, look at your car's brakes with worn out shocks or struts, how fast you go through brake pads after the first set when you bought the car new. When you bought the car new, you got maybe 50, 60,000 miles out of a set of brakes. You change the brakes, now you're only getting 20, 30,000 miles out of it. Well, why did the life shorten? Because your struts and shocks are worn. So
I can give a great talk about this, because we all know when you hit the brakes on a stock suspension, your bike wants to nosedive. That's all that weight being shifted and all that force being shifted to the front in a way, to where if you have a good set of suspension, like Suspension Technologies, you're going to have more of a controlled stop, not all the weight coming down. So you're not putting as much on the front, or you're not having your weight shift back and forth. It's going to stay controlled. And also, when you're coming in, instead of wanting to do this number, you're going to smoothly come straight.
That is correct. Now, with that being said, as the bike nosedives and you're applying both brakes equally, like you should, when that bike nosedive, it unloads the weight off the back tire. So now that back tire is not braking efficiently, and you're overworking the front brakes. So to me, brakes and suspension go hand in hand as far as braking performance. And you built this bike, you spent all this money to go fast. For God's sake, for your own safety, please do your brakes and your suspension. If you watch the build video with Spaceball, As I was waiting for the motor to come in, I pulled the wheels off, sent them out to powder coating. When they came back, I upgraded my rotors and the brake pads because I spent an hour on the phone with a manufacturer, which everybody knows it's Galfer, and all they do is motorcycle and bicycle brakes. And in my personal opinion, for the money, the best braking system you can buy. They said to me, if you use our pads with our rotors with your projected horsepower numbers, it will stop better than a stock bike on stock brakes. They did also say, if I really wanted to up my game, upgrade the brake lines from stock to theirs.
Yep.
Which I haven't done, and I'm not planning on doing because the bike stops perfectly fine the way it is, other than the stock suspension. And the only reason why it's still stock is the suspension I want that's going to be built for that bike is not available yet until Christmas, but you're going to see Hells do it live, or not live, but pre-recorded in Daytona with everybody around him heckling him.
Actually, I was looking around. I had some of that stuff. I don't know what I did with it. I had a great example piece because we spent at least 2 or 3 hours with Galfer in Wisconsin. Like we spent a lot of time with them discussing everything. They gave me a sample. Of course, it was their carbon fiber stuff, but still, as an example of the brake lines. Oh no, we got it. I had to find it, but anyways,
yeah, I felt bad sort of for the guys at Galfer at Daytona because I think I took up maybe about 4 hours of their time talking about brakes, talking about their brake lines, talking about their brake pads, how are they achieving better braking with the stock calipers. And believe it or not, the stock calipers that come on all Harley Davidsons, for as long as I can remember, are manufactured by Brembo. They just don't have the Brembo stamp on them like they do on the new CVOs. And that's one of the selling points. Look, Brembo brakes. Guess what? You've always had them.
yeah.
Newsflash. You've always had Brembo brakes. The Harley Davidson brakes by Brembo.
But with the factory rotors, you have a lot of heat build up in them, and you always get that shimmy shake chatter vibration.
Yep. And with the floating two-piece rotors that I got front and
Right.
rear from Galfer, I could tell you on a panic stop I had to make, I didn't get no shimmy, no shake. I had a lot of nosedive. I had to shift my weight towards the back to get more weight and try and transition weight to the back so the back brake works more efficiently with the front. But I was able to come to a controlled stop. That bike broke. The braking distance was better than stock brakes.
Well, yeah, because with the floating rotor, it's staying with the pad. So you're going to make sure you have 100% pad faced on the rotor when you're stopping, versus with the other rotor, it's not floating with it. So however it hits, it's however it hits.
Yep. And they told me, they said, don't let it out because it's, industry secrets and all that. The materials that they use in the brake pads are a low dusting pad, which is fine. And they work very, very well with their design. They spent, I think they said they spent $1 million in designing the braking system for the brake pads to work with the rotors. And the rotors are stylish, they're nice to look at, and also they work phenomenally well. And I'm telling you from my personal experience with them.
I say
Well,
don't do exactly what I did, but if you're going to even do a stage 2, do that suspension first. And then do the stage 2 and then the pads and the
Well,
compensator.
you did your stage 2, and I think it was like the next day you did your suspension.
Yes.
Well, Back
Next
up,
day
back
or
up.
day after.
The
I
next
did the
day,
rears. You did the front.
I did the hard work.
Okay. Hells did your front suspension.
Actually,
probably
from
what?
from footage, it was Nori doing everything. So I mean,
Yeah, okay.
except for
Nori
you
was pulling
squirting
them
out
off,
all the fluid.
changing them, putting them back on.
Yeah. Yeah, Toil. You keep saying that. I think you keep
I'm
saying
just
that.
giving you shit. Good
I'm
God.
gonna repo your suspension.
You ain't repoing my suspension. You have to catch me, and you can't do that on a set of Nikes.
You know, I'm gonna enjoy it. He's gonna keep talking that, and one day I'm just gonna come out of nowhere and just smack him in the back of the head as I pass him.
He's
That would be
gonna come over
hilarious.
here and knock on my door. We're like, shut your mouth. Come on.
So
I got to do it
again,
while I can,
Hells,
you know.
if it's not on a video, it never happened.
Unfortunately, his one win was on a video. The other ones were not videos because we were doing hooligan stuff, and I did not want video
What?
evidence.
Actually, there was two.
What?
Where the old guys kept wrecking the performance baggers that night.
Because I was on the back.
You said, why did you let out?
I was not. I don't know if I was trying to race. I was trying to pop wheelies, which I was doing with you on. Yeah, I mean, Tweel, I beat you with Crystal on the back on her lowrider S. So,
And I was on a 103 breakout. And your point being,
well, and your point being, I was broke.
Crystal's bike wasn't.
Doc's
Crystal's bike was strong.
All right. Anyways, we went left. We went out in the weeds here.
So my opinion, anything, and and Nori said it, I highlighted it. Anything north of 150 horsepower, I feel that is mandatory to go to chain drive. I feel stage 2 on up definitely should be looking at suspension. Definitely should be looking at your brakes. And if you don't want to do a performance build and you have a stock bike, take a look at your suspension. Definitely think about upgrading it, especially for comfort and convenience and things like that. So, you know, trust me. If you trust me on anything, trust me on this. Stock suspension sucks. You might think it's fine, but once you ride a bike that doesn't have stock suspension, like Suspension Technologies or any other suspension, because it's even Progressive is better than stock, and Progressive is, a half step above stock. That's my opinion. You don't have to get the best. You don't have to do everything, but for the money, Suspension Technologies can't be beat because their price point is on point. If you get it done at the rallies, it's free install. And who doesn't like free labor? I like free labor. That's why I let Rip Rack do all my lighting down in Daytona. I was on vacation.
Don't tell me Daniel did it. I don't know.
Skinny kid, dark hair.
Skinny kid, dark hair. No, Daniel's he's skinny. He's short. He's got glasses, but
No, it wasn't Daniel then.
This is why I think, Doc, you should do a series and make it the performance stages. You know, not just Harley, but performance stages. If you're building it out, here's a good guideline to building an excellent performance setup.
Yeah, that might be a good cold weather kind of videos to do.
Yeah.
And I could tell you for the money, stage 2 is like if money is an option, is an option, and you want performance, Go to a stage 2 with suspension, and you'll have one heck of a fun bike to ride. If you don't believe me, ask Tweedle. 6,000 miles on his bike. He's got the stage 2 done. He's got his suspension. I won't put his numbers out there, even though he already has. I don't want to steal his thunder.
Go
He's
ahead.
putting out some good numbers for a bike that has a stage 2 on it.
I think Blue wants to say something. Did you see that comment?
Yeah, he wants to jump on.
All right.
So what I will do is I will send Blue the link because I know he has just moved down south, and I'm curious to see how he's doing.
He's probably in flip flops and short, drinking a pina colada. Saying,
Yeah, well, don't we all?
Oh, yeah.
Now, in closing, because we've covered everything that I want to cover into building your suspension bike. Is there anything, Tweedle, you want to add?
I'd say if you're going to do it, start with your suspension, then do your stage 2. And depending on your riding style, you may want to do a compensator for the brakes or the brakes for the compensator and clutch. Other than that,
Well, I put
just
the
be
clutch
honest.
in there
Really,
with
just
the-
be honest with yourself as a rider and your skills, because you can get killed pretty quick if you don't know what you're doing.
Yep. Hells, your final thoughts on building a performance bike?
Well, I'm probably going to get burned at the stake about this one, but I'm not a big fan of forums. I think you need to get out there and actually talk to people, talk to guys that build them, and not sit around on forums and listen to other people that's not actually building these bikes. All right. But just do your research. I mean, when I say do your research, you might like that person, you might like the whatever they're doing, but really do some research, because what's on the outside could be different from what's on the inside. And I'm speaking from experience, and I don't want people to go through what I went through in my process. And my last thing is what Tweedle said. It's also, I mean, I know we're talking about the machine here, but it's also the operator. So work on your skills. Never stop learning and keep working on your skills, because the better your skill level gets, the more fun you're going to have with what you're building.
Yep. And at the level you want to have it done at.
Right.
So you don't have to go out and do hooligan shit. Good night, Mike. And while I'm at it, upstate, check your Instagram. So, yeah, lost my train of thought. Yeah, when you build your bikes, spend the time talking to guys who do these builds. If you don't spend an hour talking to your builder or the person you want to build your bike, selecting your camshaft, just selecting your camshaft, not everything else that goes with it, find another builder.
Right. If they're not willing to take the time to help you make an educated decision, you might want to move on to somebody else. So I'm right there with you. If they're not willing to sit and listen to you and actually help what you're trying to do,
Yep.
move on.
And if you're south of the Mason-Dixon line, look up Nori. I'm sure he will be more than happy to sit down with you and help you out and get you going. If you're north of the Mason-Dixon line, you want to travel to me, I'm more than happy to sit down with you. I sat on the phone with somebody who was talking about a cam for his 131, and we sat down and we talked, God, for about an hour before I made a suggestion. And he had that done. I didn't do the work. He had that work done someplace else. But he called me up and talked to me. He wanted my opinion. And it's only an opinion. It's not gospel. It's an opinion. But there's a lot.
Mine would be it's worth going to Florida to Daytona or to Miami to get done.
Okay, so
That
you're
would be
saying
my opinion.
the hell with gliding on twos then.
Yeah, he's saying
That's
he's
my
saying
boy.
hell,
That's my
hell-
boy. But I mean, to me, tuning makes or breaks a bike. And
Absolutely.
those guys down in Florida, in my opinion, are right at number one on that list, and they know what they're doing. They put big money on races that they build. You can't go wrong with it.
And what's wrong with OF Performance right there in Ormond Beach?
They're in that loop. I said Daytona or
Okay.
Miami.
Well, hang on, Twill. So you got Doc. He's up north. He's
I'm
got
not
that
dogging
covered.
their mechanical skills. This
No,
is
no,
more
no,
of a
no, no,
tuner
no.
issue.
Well, hang on. I'm on the Mason-Dixon line. And then we got Nori. And then you're way past everybody. You're like you took off. Like past
Hey,
everybody.
I mean,
Well,
Florida's.
so
I
far
hate to say it,
south,
but
you got to speak
Florida's the
Spanish.
Florida's the mecca, man. I can't. I don't know. Some people might get mad at me, but they know what they're doing down there.
Yep. Well, like I said, there's Kevin
And I'm
Baxter
talking
as
about
well.
the tuning. I mean, you can. I'm not saying Doc or Nori don't know what they're doing. I'm just saying it's worth the drive for the tunes.
Yep.
But let's put this in perspective, Twill. You gotta look at how many riders are in that area. A ton, right? How many people are getting their bikes? A ton.
Mhm.
It's not saying Doc's not doing it up there and people aren't doing it. You just gotta look at there's more people
Well,
down there.
That's why I said that was my opinion. Just my opinion. I mean, you need to do your research for sure on the builder, on the tuner, all that.
So, gliding on twos, got a question for you, Twinna. Who do you call every time you got a bike question?
Oh, I can answer this. Let me answer this. I'll make it even worse. He calls me first, and if you can't get a hold of me, he calls Nori.
If you can't get a hold of Nori, he calls me.
I hadn't had
Exactly.
an issue where I had
He
to
doesn't call Miami.
I hadn't had an issue where I had to call Miami. Thank God. Knock on some wood on that.
So,
No,
Grumman says, "Are you in Maryland?" No, he's not in Maryland. He's in West Virginia.
I said I'm right. The top of our state's the Mason. The top of our state's the Mason-Dixon line.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
But believe it or not, there are people who are a lot smarter than me with this that I call when I have questions.
Mm-hmm.
Same here.
I know I don't know everything about everything, especially with building bikes. I know enough to get you where you want to go, but if I come to a point where I don't know where I'm stuck, I will call other builders and talk to them and chat with them. When I was building baseball, I called Kevin Baxter when he was in Georgia, and he actually spent an hour on the phone with me, knowing he wasn't going to get the job, that I was going to do it all myself. But I wanted his opinion because I trust his opinion. I see his builds on his YouTube channel. The man is a phenomenal engine builder. He's forgotten more about building engines and making horsepower than I'll ever learn.
Yep.
So, everybody has that person they go to help them out. Don't sit there and listen to, as we used to say in the Army, the old barracks lawyers for your engine build. You don't want that. You want, what I mean by barracks lawyers are the people who know very little because they put that SNS 575 cam in their bike, and that's the end all, the be all, because that's their experience. I've installed many different cams. When I talk to people, I know what setups will work for them. Like when I talked to Gremlin, I found out what he was looking at. I took the time, I put a shopping list together for Gremlin and sent it to him. And I gave that same shopping list to somebody else because they rode so similar and where they wanted that their power to come in at so similar that it was basically the same rider, the same style, the same experience. That why wouldn't I recommend the same setup, knowing that setup, that combination will work for what they want? Would it get them peak horsepower, peak torque? No, but it would get them to what they were looking for. And that's what you have to understand. If you wanted to build a bike, I'll get to you in a second, Bob. I'll bring in, I see you. If you wanted to build your motor and make some horsepower, sit down with your builder, talk to him, let him show you the different cams, let him show you the difference each cam will make. And then you sit there and say, well, I ride like this. And it's okay to say, hey, I heard this is a good cam. All cams are good. It all depends on you. Because what cam works for me won't work for Tweedle. I have a 117 M8. Tweedle's got a 117 M8. What he wanted, he picked one cam. What I wanted, very similar cam. He went with a horsepower cam. I went with a torque cam. Because that's what I like. I like torque. He likes horsepower. That's what it comes down to.
Well, he kind of got stuck because that's why I was like, because I'm a horsepower cam guy.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, he
He knew
listened
exactly
to you.
how it rode and everything.
Yep. He listened to you, and then he talked to the guys down in Miami, and he's like, shut up and take my money.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'm happy.
Unfortunately, it worked out for him.
Yeah. Hey, Blue, how you doing, buddy? You're on the road.
Yes, I are. I'm on my way.
On your way down to North Carolina, Wilmington, correct?
Yes, sir.
I see that Rose was delivered.
Yes. Thanks to Mr. Noggin, he did me a salad. I got him to bring that down for me, so I'm good there. And then the other one, I got to hit a toll booth. If you give me a second.
Don't hit it. Stop, pay your money, and then drive through. Please don't hit the toll booth.
There's somebody in the trunk. Check the trunk. Somebody's in the trunk.
Hold on. We got to wait. Check his trunk. He's kidnapping people in the trunk.
There's somebody in the trunk.
He just muted us. But, and that's my recommendation to you when you want to build your bike, when you want to build a performance bike. Those are my recommendations. Look at the whole picture.
I don't care. That's fine.
What performance you're looking at. Look at suspension. Look at brakes, because you got all that go. You're going to need the whoa. And trust me, it's going to go a lot better than stock. A lot better. It won't stop as good as stock because you got all that go. So definitely want to look at brakes and suspension, because those two systems work together.
I'm sorry.
And I know Hells would prefer, and I would prefer, if you contacted H2 or rideH2performance.com, order your suspension through him, whether it's the Black Hills or the RT. Again, that's up to you and how you ride, which suspension you get. And that's my recommendations if you wanted to build a performance bike. What is Corey saying? Blue has stripper money.
Yeah, he had all the singles flashed in front of the camera.
Blue, did you go working last? Did you go work at a club last night?
No.
Is your new name Magic Mike?
That was all the change I got back from the toll booth lady.
I think you were out dancing as Magic Mike.
After she checked in the trunk.
That was kind of funny though, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
You're like,
I just crossed into Maryland.
Very nice.
So I'm getting there. I am getting there. I cannot wait till I
Yep.
get all the way.
You got to get through Virginia.
Oh God, don't remind me.
And
Last
that's
time
it.
I came,
There's no more New York, upstate New York for you, correct?
what's that?
You're not going back up to New York at all?
No, this is a permanent move.
Congratulations. Congratulations to you. When you come to Connecticut to see your family, please let me know. I'd love to go out.
Oh, absolutely.
Have dinner with you or lunch or something.
As you already know, you're not even 10 minutes away from her, so.
Yep.
Of course I would.
Excellent.
And
So
then
what do you
she's
want to say,
talking-
Blue?
I just wanted to give an update of where I'm at, where I'm going, you know, because I had said something on Doc's show a couple of weeks ago about how I was going to make the move, and now I'm actually doing the move. And as everybody saw earlier, Noggin was kind enough to bring Rose down for me, save me a few bucks, and he just dropped her off today, and I'm not far behind. I'll be getting with her here in a little while, and can't hardly wait to take her out. The weather down there is just absolutely gorgeous still. It's not like where I just came from. God, I'll tell you that.
So Kelfire wants to know, are you coming down I-95?
Yes, I are.
Because Fact Light says you're only 4.5 hours away now.
From where?
From Fact Light and Kelfire.
Yep, I'm 4.5 hours from what?
From Kelfire and Fact Light.
Oh, from them. I got you. Yeah, they're in Virginia, right?
Yes.
So he'll be at the house at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yep.
Yeah.
Have coffee ready.
How far away off the exit are they?
I have no idea.
I'll have to have her send me a text or something, tell me. Well, Maryland's not that big. I'll be in Virginia pretty soon.
They said they live right off of I-95.
Really?
Yeah, so maybe you should stop in for a coffee about 2 o'clock in the morning.
Well, if she's still got my shocks, too, I could pick those up, too.
What, your stock ones?
Yeah.
Tell her to throw them in the garbage.
Well, I wanted to keep them. I wanted to keep all that stock stuff.
Oh, okay.
What if I ever get another one and I want to put it on?
Well, you just contact H2 Performance. You order them. Then you call Nori. Nori will put them on.
Yeah, I got to get hold of Nori when I get down here, too, by the way.
Yep.
Apparently, he's not that far from where I'm at. Or where I'm going to be.
I'm with gliding on this. It's cold down here, and y'all need to come get your weather because it's drunk in our yard. We don't like this cold.
Blue's bringing it down with him.
No, he needs to send it back up north.
No,
Kelfire said she's going to message you, Blue.
Okay.
And yes, they still have your shocks.
Blue's not going to be going very far after that toll booth. We're going to see blue lights and the state troopers. Like, sir,
we're going to open the trunk.
Over the trunk. And then I'll start yelling, "Don't look at the door panel."
And don't look in the glove box.
Yeah.
And whatever you do, now, where's your Dyna? Is it in the trailer behind you?
No, it's in in a pod, a moving pod.
Oh, okay.
Where all my other stuff is.
Okay.
It'll be down on the 31st.
Okay. Are you pulling a trailer or are you just driving your car?
I'm just driving the car. I don't have a hitch, so.
Oh, okay. Grumman says
serious
take
question.
I-40 to Wilmington off 95.
Say again?
Gremlin says take I-40 to Wilmington off of I-95. Wherever that is.
I was told what is it? 2 something. It's exit 160. I think it's either 195 or 295 or something like that off of 95 to go to Wilmington. It's exit 166 or something.
Okay. Gliding says, or Nori says, she's only 3 hours from Wilmington.
Yeah, which isn't that bad.
Yeah.
So, Blue, I got a serious question for you. If the
What's
Dyna's
that?
in the moving pod, is it strapped down?
Yes.
They have straps in them? I've never used one. That's why I asked.
Yeah, you can. It's not easy, but you can do it. It was kind of a pain in the butt because all the other crap that I had brought with me too.
I know this is not the last time we're going to talk about, but I'm going to tell you, good luck with your new adventure in your life, because that's what this is. This is a whole new chapter, a whole new adventure.
Yep, sure is.
I wish you all the luck.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I'll be able to keep in touch with you guys a little bit more often. I've just been so damn busy.
Absolutely.
Everything that I've had going on between selling my house and getting the job and this and that I haven't had time to get on, the streams and stuff. So
Yep, it's been noticed you've been missed, but I know you've been very busy with the packing, the move, the sale of the house, ramping up for the new job and closing out at the old job. And
yeah, I've tried to, Doc, as you already know, I've tried my best to keep you abreast of what I've been doing every step of the way. So.
Yep. Riding on Threes, Tennessee says stay safe while driving down the North Carolina Blue.
Say again?
Riding on Threes says stay safe on your way to North Carolina.
Oh, thank you very much. Are
you going to make the trip in one night, or are you going to stop and sleep and finish it tomorrow?
I'm not sure. I haven't. I'm so freaking pumped to get down there that I may just. It's going to depend on how I do going through Virginia.
Yep. Now Dallas says, "Congratulations, Blue. When will you start the Southern English classes with Dan, aka Danny Boy?"
Yeah, I don't have any of my. Oh, that's because I just have the StreamYard on. That's fine.
I just lost Hells. Where'd he go? Is he going to bed?
No idea.
No idea.
Nope.
All right, let me get out of here. Leave you guys to it. I just, like I said, I wanted to give an update. Yep. Let everybody know I'm on my way. I'll be there sometime between now and tomorrow morning. And I'm sure I will get in touch with everybody and give them an update of where I'm at, where I'm settled in, and all that stuff. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I can't really. But I'm gonna try to push all the way tonight.
Be safe and don't push yourself beyond your limits.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to do that. I've come this far. I don't want to screw it up.
Yep.
So, thanks for letting me pop on real quick. I appreciate it.
No problem. And Jake, my pleasure. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank
you should have that laptop plugged in so it doesn't go dead. All right, Blue, have a good one.
All right, have a good one, guys. I'll talk to you later.
Yep. There we go. So, what a great topic tonight. I had this idea doing this Monday night when I was talking with you and Hell, saying we really need to do, what is a performance bike? Because a lot of people have a misconception of what a performance bike is and how people ride it, which we didn't get into, which I'd like to. And people who ride their performance bikes with the skill level that matches their bike, or their bike exceeds their skill level, which I always recommend that you have a bike that exceeds your skill level, but you know your limits and you know when to push your limits. That's the other aspect of safety on any motorcycle. Know your limits and know when to push it and when not to. But when you have a complete package, your limits are far less than the bike's. Most people, their bike, the stock bike, and their limits are pretty well matched. You really cannot improve as a performance rider on a stock bike than you can on a performance bike that's set up properly for that person.
Yeah. Yeah, I still have some more to do to actually, as far as stopping goes and clutch and compensator, once I get that done, then I'm gonna probably do head work. Couple other things. Try to milk out the 117.
Yep. And if you could find a good machine shop that could do your head work and it has a flow that could flow test them and everything like that, that would be great. And port matching is also important too, that they port match your intake manifold, your exhaust, and everything, so you clean up or eliminate as much turbulence as possible.
Yeah.
And to break it down Barney style, like we used to say in the Army, a performance motor or any motor is basically an air pump. The more air you pump in and the more air you pump out, the more performance you're going to make. And heat and parasitic drag are killers in performance, such as, like you see a lot of drag cars. They don't run alternators. They run their battery power in that quarter mile. They don't have belt-driven water pumps. They have an electric motor driving their water pump. Same thing with their fuel pump. They're an electric fuel pump. All that's running off of electricity. They have nitrogen.
That's where you go street bike to drag bike too.
Yep. But that they're eliminating parasitic drag, where when you build a bike, you can eliminate a lot of parasitic drag by properly sizing your lifters, properly sizing your cam for what you're looking for, putting things together the right way and the right sequence can eliminate a lot of parasitic drag than what you had. For instance, the bike I'm working on now, I was curious with the stock lifters. Yes, it's a twin cam 103, but with the push rods removed, rotating the wheel around, two of his lifters will hang up. They're counting on the spring pressure, the valve springs pushing the lifter, and the push rod pushing that lifter back down. Well, you want that lifter to come up and then come down under its own weight, letting gravity work. And if gravity isn't working and it's holding it up, that is a parasitic drag that needs to be eliminated. Whether you need a smaller lifter, and I'm talking micros, or you ream that hole out, and they sell reamers at different sizes for lifters just for that. So I will be matching the 4 lifters to the 4 different holes, and which one will give me the least amount of parasitic drag as I'm building this bike.
Mark them for which holes they go in.
Yep. So
how you gonna? Serious question. I don't know about that. Do you write it with a magic marker, or do you stamp it, or?
Well,
How do they do that?
what I do is I'll take a lifter, I'll put it in the hole, and I'll rotate. The bike's in 6th gear, the spark plugs are removed, so it's easier to
Mhm.
turn on. I'll rotate that motor around, and if that lifter comes up and drops on its own, okay, that's good. Then I'll put the lifter in the other one, and if it goes up and sticks, I'll pull that lifter out and I'll put it in a different hole and in the other 3 and find out which one does it work best in. And then if I come down to the last lift or the last hole, if it goes up and sticks, then I'll start with that first lifter I had and change it out and to try and match it so you have the least amount of parasitic drag. Like I said, when I set lifters, it could be as simple as a 5-minute job, or it could take me up to 2 hours to set lifters because I'm trying to eliminate the parasitic drag everywhere I can, like, centering your oil pump. A lot of people throw their oil pump in with the assembly lube and everything, and they torque the cam plate and they snug up the oil pump. They rotate it once around and they say, okay, that's good. No, I go through a whole sequence. Like, I'll put the cam plate in, I'll torque it up, I'll put the bolts in, start them by hand, rotate the motor around 3 times. I'll snug them up to the first torque setting, rotate that motor around a little bit, 2 more times, and I'll break the torque on that and rotate it around 2 more times. I'm really getting that oil pump to find its center so you do not have any parasitic drag from that oil pump. Now, if that oil pump is centered properly with the least amount of drag going into your cam plate and your cam or cams on a twin cam, you eliminate them as much parasitic drag as you can at the lifters. Believe it or not, you will find horsepower and torque. And all you did was take your time. One of the dyno shops I use sit there and goes, how are you achieving these numbers? We're using the same stuff and we can't get these numbers, but you can. And I like analysis because I take my time. I'm not dictated to get a job done in a certain amount of time where your mechanics are. The book says 10 hours. You want them done within 5 to 7 hours. So you could bill out 10 and make 3 hours free. So if you have 5 mechanics working 40 hours a week, what is that? 8 times 4, 240 hours a week, and you're billing out 600 hours. So there's another 360 hours a week that you're making that nobody's really working, but it's book time and that's completely legal. And that's how garages and dealerships make money with service. And here's gliding. That's one of the problems I have with customers. They always ask how long it's going to take because they're worried about the labor hours.
Hmm.
Well, Nori, how I address that, as I tell them, it's plain simple. I really don't, and I don't care what the job is. I don't charge an hourly rate. I charge what I feel that job is worth. 99.5% of the time, I'm a lot less than the dealership. And I'm talking hundreds of dollars less. Sometimes it's right there, like a cam job is right there with the dealership because I feel that's what the job is worth. And I tell everybody, most of the time, what they're charging you, they're cutting out your push rods and putting in adjustables. Yes, I'll be doing that, but I'll put one just push rod in at a time, let it bleed down and readjust it before I go on to the next one. And that's just how I do it. And since I have your rocker boxes apart, and if it's a twin cam, I'm going to rebuild those crankcase breathers because within the Cometic kit comes with all the gaskets and everything you need to rebuild them. If you have it and it's supplied, do it because that makes a much better motor. Better motor that breathes. And if a motor could breathe and you don't have the pressures fighting that motor, it's going to spin a lot easier and you're going to make more power. So let's see, running through this, how long does it take? Because I'm making sure it's going to run into a time issue with other things for that day. I just want the job done right. I don't know how long it takes. Well, if you saw my live when I did Nori stage 2, I think that was like 5 hours.
Rory stage 2.
Corey's.
Corey.
Nori, they rhyme. Corey stage 2. The live was 5 hours, and we didn't start the bike until after we started the live, and there was, I'd say, an hour of just smoking and joking and have a good time. So it could be done in 4 hours. Taking your time and doing it right.
Well, I mean, 5 hours is about right for a cam job, anyways.
Right, but
Because that's what mine took.
Right, I could do mine and I could do cam jobs in 4. Twin cam's a little bit more work, and that's 4 hours, and I could do M8s in close to 4 hours. It's just one less cam, one less cam chain tension, or one less chain.
Yeah, because my other 3 hours was all tuning. You had to build the tune and all that.
I'm not including tuning on that, because tuning could take anywhere depending on the person doing the tune, how experienced they are, how good they are, and how anal they are. It could take anywhere from 3 to Hawaiian time.
Well, it's like you said before, with the different, you could have the same bikes and have different numbers. A lot of them already have tunes built for those power setups. They just have to upload them and they go in there and fine tune them.
Right. But if you have a guy that is better than okay with tune, and that's their best guy in the shop, then that's what you got. But if you have a guy who's very anal with it, that he will custom build your tune even off a base tune, it could take 3 to 8 hours to achieve best fuel efficiency, the best air fuel ratios, the best timing to reach your ultimate goal for numbers.
Yep.
Yeah, Salty says that's right. You can have it done fast, right, or cheap. Pick one.
There's only really one to pick there, because if you do fast or cheap, you're probably going to have a grenaded motor.
Yep. And there's only one way I do it in my shop. It's done right, or I don't do it at all. And there were people asked me to cut corners, and I told them, no, I'm not cutting corners. And this is what it cost to do the job labor-wise. And I will not cut corners. And if you want me to cut corners so you can save money on labor, let me roll your bike right off the lift. I'm sorry.
Yep.
No,
you're putting your name on it.
Come to me, bring me his bike. It says, hey, how much to do a 3-hole oil change plus front brakes? I gave him a price. And he says, well, we're going to hold off the brakes because I didn't bring that much money. I only got this much money. And I just says, okay. I unstrapped his bike and started. He goes, what are you doing? I says, I was going to do your front brakes labor free. The price I quoted you is for the oil change. I'm not going to lose money on an oil change just to change your oil. So let me get you bike off the lift, get you outside, and say, come back when you got the money. Or I'll do the job. You could call Uber to bring you home, or your wife, and come back tomorrow or the next day and pay it in full. Miraculously, he came up with the rest of that money. So you have that too.
Yeah, I've noticed the price of oil changes have gone up.
Yeah. It usually takes around 4 to 5 hours for a cam upgrade. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I've turned away jobs for that reason. ain't cutting any corners. That's correct. I had people come to me and says, "Hey, I need my tire replaced. I'll have the tire." Okay. He comes in, he's got a used tire and it's down to the wear bars. I'm like, I'm not putting this on. Because why not? It's better than what I got. I'm like, see ya. In the state of Connecticut, it is illegal to mount used tires on a motorcycle.
That'd be a common sense thing not to mount. Well, I can see it if you was a stunt guy doing burnouts and all that stuff. I could get that, but everybody else, no, I'd be like, new or not at all.
And I asked him, where'd you get that tire? Oh, you just changed my buddy's tire. This is his old tire. If it wasn't good enough for him, what makes it think it's good enough for you? Because I could get it's not completely bald yet. The cords aren't showing. I could get some life out of this, and I could save that money. Okay. Here's your bike. Here's your used tire. Take it with you. When you're ready to buy a new tire.
Motorcycles are expensive to own.
Yes.
Well, if you're getting a bike, you might as well go ahead and just plan on eating PB&J.
Or if you have to, come up with a side hustle or get a second job, something.
Yep.
It's out there. You could, if you have a motorcycle, you can find ways to make money to keep your motorcycle because it's cheaper than going to the therapist, number one. And number two, if you're using it to commute, it's cheaper and fuel going back and forth to work every week. I mean, my Mercedes is, if I take my car to work every day during the week, it's $60 a week in gas. If I take the bike every day during the week, it's only $20 a week in gas. And if I do that, I just take that $40, throw it aside for incidentals. Do I need a tire? Do I need an oil change? Yeah, I have the oil in stock, but I paid for that. If I need a
you
tire,
already
I
know
pay for that.
you're going to have an oil change.
Yeah.
I always do mine at 3K, but I've actually pushed them out to 5 now.
Yeah, I do mine at 5,000 with synthetic.
And I do a 3-hole all at one time. I don't break them up. I do them all at the same time.
Hey, Dean, how you doing?
Hey, Dean.
Welcome. You missed a good conversation. We talked about performance bikes and the different stages and the different builds and different options with building a performance bike, what is recommended at different stages, and when certain things need to be done, like suspension, brakes, chain drive, compensator deletes, injectors, intake manifolds, all that good stuff. You missed a great conversation. If you have a chance, please go back and watch it. Wealth of information. Sells was on here with me tonight. Tweedle was on here with me tonight. And we just broke it down as easy as possible for anybody who wants to build a performance bike.
Speaking of hell, he lost the internet connection. That's why he fell off.
Oh, okay. That's all right. I still love him.
Just give him crap later.
Absolutely. I'll break. Oh, you got internet now? I just couldn't have it during my life. Sure. Okay. Hey, man, life happens,
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, internet, it's not like he's landlined into the internet, So
I'm going to put this out to everybody. If I asked you a question and I missed it because we were in deep conversation, I apologize. Please ask your question again. Or if you thought of a question about a performance build, other than what cam should I get or what's the best cam for my bike? Well, that's a whole conversation we'll have to have that could take a minimum of 1 hour. So if you have a question, ask that question. Let's get your questions answered about building a performance bike. If you're thinking about building one or you would like to build one in the future, ask your questions. Nori, I know you're looking to build a performance bike because that Vespa ain't cutting it anymore. You're laughing, Tweedle. I know you are.
I was laughing. I got one for you that probably somebody may be thinking and not asking is as far as performance, what's better? 2 and a 1, 2 and a 2.
That's a good one.
Clip-ons hurt or hindered, like tab 50 cows
Yep.
with the zombie baffles,
Yep. Well, the baffles is all about sound.
Sure.
2 and the 1 is great for torque numbers. If you want torque, 2 and the 1, hands down, is a better exhaust. 2 and the 2 is good for horsepower. But in this instance, you can't have your cake and eat it too. Because you could get the 2 into 1 into 2. And that will tune like a 2 into 1 pipe. Because you're creating the back pressure for 2 into 1 as you would a 2 into 1 pipe. So 2 into 1 into 2 will perform almost as good as a true 2 into 1. So if you have OCD like me and you want a 2 into 1 and you have cutout bags like me, you could do a 2 into 1 with a dummy pipe, which a lot of them don't do that anymore. Or you do a 2 into 1 into 2 pipe, and then you'll have your cake and eat it too as far as performance and torque. Yes, they will both be affected. You won't reach your max horsepower. You won't reach your max torque, but it'd be a happy medium to the point where you wouldn't notice it, but of course a dyno machine would. Simple. Nitrous. A 200 shot of nitrous through a Grom.
I thought you were going to say remove the gas cap, pull it out, put it on a new bike.
Or you could roll it out, roll in a soft tail or a bagger in the ST line, roll that in its place. But no, as far as Groms go, I know there's an aftermarket community for Groms. I don't work on them, honestly, so I can't even steer you in a direction, but I'm sure there's something out there for Groms.
I mean, it's still an engine, so I mean, you should still be able to port and polish heads and all that stuff to it. Exhaust.
Salty bagger, yes, I would love a riser adapter for that chopper. Please send it out because all the bunny ear handlebars that I want for that thing are only for the triple trees, not for springers. So I definitely need that. I definitely want that. And it would make my life so much easier. And no, I haven't installed the springer yet. And I can't do it right now because I have one lift tied up with a project. I got to leave one lift available. So I'm not doing the springer's not going to go on until all that's taken up.
Got
DJ.
busted on that Grom. Dan was just a troublemaker that weekend. He led a group over into the campground to sit there and ping their bikes off the rev limiters and do rolling burnouts. And he's just, I don't know what his wife gave him, but he was doing hooligan
Hopefully
shit.
on too. You missed a great show tonight. We talked about performance bikes. If you want to learn a lot about performance bikes and what different stages are and what you should do, please go back and rewatch. If you don't, I won't be heartbroken. But it was such a great night with a wealth of information get put out there. Class was definitely in session tonight. Hey, Jamin. I'm sure. But same thing with you, man. If wealth of information put out, you got that beautiful new bike. If you're thinking of doing some performance upgrades, please go back and rewatch. A lot of good information was put out. Let's see. Factlight says they had a blast in Tennessee with the Groms. Nice. Just want to ask an original question. Yeah, that definitely original. I never got asked a Grom question.
Well, I'm sure there's a lot you can do to them.
Absolutely, the address on my page is 100% accurate. Oh, right on, Jamin. And by the way, Jamin, you guys had a great live tonight. They had a special guest on the unaffiliated channel, Miss Kitty, meow. She does bike detailing and everything. Go, guys, check that out. It was a really good live tonight. It was entertaining, easy on the eyes, and I'm not talking about jamming. Don't jamming. Sorry, you're not easy on the eyes like Miss Kitty. It was a really good live. I enjoyed it. Let's see. Dan goes, I'm not part of the campground hooligans. Yeah, I heard you were.
He was the leader.
I
That's a
learned
lie.
something, but not
That's a
from
lie.
you.
He learned something from me the other day. I just forget what the heck it was.
Definitely not how to do a burnout.
He learned it. If he calls me out, I'll do it.
Hey, Tiger, how you doing? Thanks for letting us know you're here. I appreciate it.
Tiger. We stopped over in, I think it was Crossville, to get gas at Bucky's. And I forgot my debit card in my glove box, so I had to run back and get it. When I went in, Tiger was coming out. So when we got back on the road, we took off to see if we could find him and pass him, but we never seen him.
No?
No, I don't know if he was outside eating and just took his time or what, but we never seen him.
See that? Brevin says, oh, yeah, Groms carry ice cream. I like ice cream. I mean, right here. That's
3 gallons worth of ice cream.
And a felony was committed afterwards.
That felony was Dallas.
Yep. That's right. I won't rat you out. I'm not a rat.
Oh, I just did. He deserves it. He deserves it. He should have put that in the freezer and been eating on it.
Yeah. Hey, Kelfire's back. Mrs. Kelfire, the young, the beautiful. How are you? Thank you very much. I appreciate it, Salty Bagger. If you want the W-9 for the donation towards the build, let me know, and I will definitely send that out to you. If you don't, but you're still going to be listed as a donor for this build. What's that?
Dallas says, what? Yep. It's Dallas's fault.
Yeah.
Everyone didn't get a ride, Killfire. I didn't ride it.
Kelfire didn't want you running her, Grom. She didn't want you breaking it.
I almost ran over it when we went to go get the ice cream.
I tell you, it would be funny to see you sitting on a Grom. As tall as you are on that bike, that would be hilarious.
My knees would have been up to my ears.
See, Oakley says, I want to add some performance upgrades to my bike. Nothing crazy. Again, Oakley, if you want to, we could talk what your goals are. We could figure out what parts you would need. Or if you have a builder or a shop that you trust and use, talk to them. If you wanted to go into cams, if they don't spend an hour with you going over different cams, go someplace else, please. Or call me if you still want them to do the work. We can go over the cams and I could do the math and hurt my head with all this math for you and help you pick a cam. I've done it many, many times and I don't mind doing it. Faculties next year will be up the Grom squad for sure. All right. Corey goes, would you fit, Tweedle?
I don't know. Don't know.
Look at that. You need to sit in a normal chair with your knees up to your ears.
He had to have a step stool to get into that chair, so I don't know.
You need a step stool to get on the booster seat, sitting on the ground.
Yeah, Mel, it would probably be funny seeing me on the ground.
It would be. It'd be hilarious. The term "monkey fucking a football" comes to mind.
Well, when
And
we
it's
went to
great.
go get the ice cream, I gave him a head start. I was like, I'm just going to pull out and I'm going to hit it and see how long it takes me to catch up to him. And he was, I don't know, not too far from the bridge when I pulled out and I took off. And I was like, oh shit, I got to slow down. I'm about to run over him.
So we never covered it. I know I brought it up. All American Performance in Miami did all the work on your bike.
All American
For
Cycle.
Engine Performance, right?
Mm-hmm.
They tuned it. You want
Yep.
to share what your horsepower and torque numbers are?
I got it right here. It was, so here's where I really want to put it on a dyno up here to see what the difference is, but I know every dyno is different. Because it was like 98, 99 degrees and
Which
89,
hurts
almost
performance.
90% humidity. Yeah.
Which hurts performance.
But they got 133.92 horsepower out of it and 130.55 of torque.
So 130 horse, 130 torque on a Harley
133.
Stage 133 on a Harley Stage 2. Sorry,
Yep.
they want to teach you the 3 horsepower. On a
Yeah.
Harley Stage,
Hey, 3 horsepower or something.
A lot of people pay a lot of money for that 3 horsepower. I'm serious. When you're talking guys who are in bracket racing or
Yep.
spec racing, they pay a lot of money to gain 3 horsepower within the specifications.
Yep.
So that's actually phenomenal numbers out of a 117 Stage 2, which is great. You know, those are some phenomenal numbers.
And I think they're actually higher up here, to be honest with you. The bike runs
Absolutely.
way stronger up here.
Absolutely. You know, cooler temperatures, which means there's more oxygen in the air, which means you get a better burn.
Yep.
It's less humidity, so there's less moisture in that air, which we all know moisture doesn't burn. So that hurts. What's killing you? Well, you're at what, 2,500 feet above sea level?
No, I think it's more like 12.
1,200. So okay, 1,200 feet to sea level, not much different as far as barometric pressures go, as far as you know, how much oxygen is in the air, because the higher you go, the less oxygen you have. Could be colder, but you'll have less oxygen. As you people, everybody's heard of altitude sickness, which is a real thing, which happens at 10,000 feet above sea level. But at 5,000 feet, you really notice a difference in the oxygen in the air. Trust me, I know. I've lived at 5,700 feet above sea level for a year. It affects performance of you and motors and equipment. So, yeah.
Yeah. I'm just curious about how much mine is. It might be more like 135, 133.
Yeah.
Or 132, you know. But it's more than enough for what I need up here. I can hardly ever get out of 4th gear up here.
Yeah.
Unless I'm on an interstate.
Well, I'll ask Mike about that. He'll tell me if you got out of 4th gear.
Well, you got in the 4th gear one time. Rest of the time I was in 3rd and 2nd.
See?
I don't know what gears was his. I couldn't hear him behind me because he still had the stock on.
Yeah, he's all stock. And he actually said to me, he goes, you know, my bike is so quiet, I can't take it. I'm thinking of just buying slip-ons for now because, you know, when I come back, we're doing the 135 in his bike. Well, actually, Harley's going to be putting the 135 with all the Screaming Eagle parts. I said to him, I said, look, don't spend money to spend money.
Yeah.
If you're going to spend money to get mufflers, ask them for your Screaming Eagle mufflers now. We could put them on. Or just wait until the 25th of October and get it done. And he's like, yeah, I think you're right. I know I'm right. Patience is a virtue.
Yeah. No, I feel his pain because when I was riding with Gliding on 2s and Crystal, I could not hear my bike for nothing. Like, I couldn't even hear the noise from the motor. Couldn't hear the exhaust. Had to sit there and look at the RPMs go up. That was all I could do.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that drives me crazy with the new stock bikes is when you're riding it, there's so little vibration to it that you have to pay attention to your tack to get your shift points right. And you're not using all your senses. You're only using one sense instead of all of them because the bike is so quiet and so smooth that hitting that exhaust, note and hearing your bike, knowing when it wants to shift and shifting at those points, it's really disconcerting. To me, it's a safety thing.
Well, I mean, think about it. I came off a breakout. It was a 103 twin cam, so it had different shift points from the M8 from the get go. And I was having to ride it stock until I got stage 2 done. And when I got stage 2 done, that's when I really started going by ear, learning where it was, at what RPM, what it sounded like. And now it's pretty much second nature.
Yep. And, and that really, like I said, helps with safety because now you're not paying attention to your tack for your shift points. Now you're paying attention to your other senses like your hearing and feel, because you do feel the motor a little bit more with a stage 2 than you do over stock. Not more vibration, but you feel more engine noise coming out of it because it's making that much more power. So you're using 2 more senses instead of just one, which is an important sense while riding, which is your eyesight.
About this past weekend.
Hey, you're at a bike event, you got to expect it. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
It happens.
Yeah.
If you're at a bike event and you don't expect red bombs and loud parties and people getting loud at night, then I hate to say it, you're in the wrong place.
I mean, I'd have rather had that than, one of my buddies come and stand on my front porch, ask me if that was the bag full of cocaine and where the strippers and hookers were with the new neighbors moving in.
Yep. Right next door. Go there.
Oh, crap.
Yep. Well, Cal Fire, that's your business. I thought that wood was just for you, but if he wants to share it with the world, you might have something to say about that.
Yeah, it's getting. I don't like this temperature right now. I'm on. At least next week's supposed to be in the 70s for highs. So.
Yep. Well, it's getting cold here. Next week the lows are going to be in the 30s. Highs are going to be in maybe the 50s to 60s. So it's going to get cold here. But bikes aren't getting put away yet. Which reminds me, I have to do that video. How to properly store your motorcycle for the winter. I did one last year.
Yeah, but I mean, you can wait till you don't put your bike up.
I never put my bikes up.
Why do it then?
Well, because it's a video that would be educational for people that do.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with people who put their bikes away for the wintertime or for the off season, as we could call it.
Mine pretty much goes to bed for maybe a month. Maybe a month. Just really depends on if the highs are in the 40s. I'm good to ride, but they're in the 30s. Can't handle it. I don't have heated gear either, so.
The only thing I got on the bike right now that's heated is the grips. I have a heated
I don't even have.
But
I don't have that either.
That picks me up 2 inches taller, which gets my head more into the cold wind. So I'd rather not have the heated seat and be protected from the wind a little bit more. All right, Kremlin. Comments like that will get you banned.
You can come up here and watch my bike. It's still 30. I don't know if it's Coke all over it or blood from a carcass that was hit on the interstate or what. But there's sap on it too. We rode through something. All three of us got it all over our bikes and our rain gear.
That's awesome. They're going to a bike. I love bike nights. I really do. Unfortunately, they canceled the last bike night of the season here because of a 15% chance of rain, cold, and wind. You know?
Riding, that's pretty much what I do.
Well, let's see. DDK, no heated grips, no heated gear. You're all peasants. Well, you know what?
You know what? You just got your suspension. You can't call anybody a peasant.
Listen, not just that. Come ride with me in 30-degree weather. And you tell me if you want heated grips or heated seat or heated gear. I don't have heated gear. I got a heated seat, heated grips. And come ride with me when it's 30 degrees, or come ride with me on a New Year's morning where the high for the day is 12 without the wind chill.
He's got lowers too, so I mean, it's not like he catches any wind anyways.
Right. So come ride with me when it's 12 degrees out. And then call me peasant then. As a matter of fact, that ride we went on, it was called the Blue Balls ride. And everybody's like, that's a good name, man. My balls are so cold. I'm like, not mine. Like, why not? So I got a heated seat. They hated me for it, but you know what? Sorry.
Yeah, I gotta make a thumbnail, upload a video, then I'm gonna try to
He has
wash my
heated
bike
everything.
tomorrow.
Okay, so yeah, he has heated everything. Got it. Dan doesn't have hair. He does. It's just on his face. It migrated from his head to his face.
It doesn't have very easy gear.
See, Gremlin's sunny, no wind, detailing tomorrow. Well, you know what, Gremlin?
I'm out.
If it's going to be sunny with no wind, I wouldn't be detailing my bike. I'd be riding it. Yep. Got to take the trailer back to the park tomorrow, but I'll be riding the bike night. And awesome. All right, guys. I'm going to call it a night. I've run out of topics to talk about for engine, for performance bikes tonight. I think we've covered, just scratched the surface of performance bikes and what it takes to have a performance bike. And if you wanted to build one, now I believe and hope everybody would have a better idea. And Danny Dilo, what's up, my brother? What makes performance guy? Gotta like guys. Yeah, man. You missed it. Now you're gonna have to watch it after the show, Danny, to find out what makes a performance bike. Do you have one or not? Are you a performance rider or not? I know the answer to that because I follow and watch all your videos. And I know you can hold a line. So, if you want our opinions of what we think, and I put out a lot of information about picking cams and how to pick a cam, or if you're going to talk to a builder and he's giving you a recommendation without talking to you, that's not a good thing. But definitely, Danny, let's get together soon. Let's get you on here on a Wednesday night, brother, because I got a lot of questions for you. Love to get you on here and love to get to know you a little bit better. So as of right now, I'm going to end this live, guys. Thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you for Tweedle Hells for joining me here in this discussion. Thank you for Blue for joining us on the road, the roaming reporter tonight, making his way down to Wilmington. Wish him all the luck and get there safe. Any final thoughts, Tweedle? All right.
I mean, pretty much said it. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
I mean,
anytime.
Not gonna beat a dead horse.
Yeah. So with that being said, everybody, you guys live the best life you can. Ride often. and always ride hard.